I can remember when I was a child and the first time I discovered a paper airplane from a classmate of mine. I remember how excited I was and how my mind just took off with imaginations and possibilities I could do with this paper plane. The thought of being able to go into my desk, take a piece of paper out, fold it a few times, and throw it across the classroom without the teacher catching me was so exciting. But here's the thing, that excitement only lasts for a brief time. You see, once I realized no matter how many times I folded and creased that plane and tried to throw it, it never truly went the distance I wanted it to. I got bored with it, stopped playing with the paper planes, and lost its belief. You see, a paper airplane can only truly soar in the imagination of a child. Once the pilot of the paper plane loses his belief in the paper plane stops trying to fly. I call this the paper plane effect. Now, just like a child who lost his or her belief in the potential of a paper airplane's flight, the same thing happens to a child's belief system depending if their environment they live in is conducive to their growth or not. A child in the inner city many times starts to identify with the hood and the miseducation that comes along with the hood. For example, a man coming home from a 4-year prison sentence many times will be celebrated more than a man coming home from 4 years of college with a degree or 4 years of military service. Rabbi Zachariah said, "What we applaud, we encourage, be careful what we celebrate." Now this also applies to my precious culture of hip hop. What we applaud, we encourage, be careful what we celebrate. When we're at home sometimes watching the evening news and we see a criminal being arrested for a crime they may have committed and their mugshot is plastered on the screen, we often find ourselves feeling a bit safer this person's off the streets, as we probably should. But what most of us never do is stop in the moment and ask the question, why? Why? Why did this young man choose to tattoo his face and his neck? Why is this young man's eyes filled with so much anger and hate and hopelessness? Why does any man choose to risk his freedom and his life to rob a store for $62.32? Why? Author and speaker John Maxwell said in his book, The 15 Laws of Growth, that in order to grow to our full potential, we must be in the right environment. He goes on to say that growth thrives in favorable conditions, and when you and I surround ourselves with people and opportunities conducive to our development is when we grow. The season of spring gets its name from nature's sudden display of growth. The word spring means to leap, to fly up, or burst forth. In the right environment, where there's longer days, good rainfall, good sunlight, the grass and the flowers seem to spring up from the ground almost overnight. But in the wrong environment, where there's inadequate rainfall, freezing temperatures, or too much sun and too much heat, growth gets delayed, or it barely exists at all. See, when I was a kid growing up in the inner city, the older kids on the block had told me the outskirts of the city was called the white section. Today I know that as the suburbs. Now, what I did not realize at that time is that description alone of us calling the suburbs the white section was unconsciously excluding me from ever believing that I could live in that environment. See, our environment is vitally important to our growth. The man we see on the 6 o'clock news, as a child did not aspire to be a criminal and go to jail. Before the realities of his environment set in and stole his belief, he dreamt big. See, belief is a condition where we are certain of something based on personal experiences, events, feelings, and gain knowledge through the avenues of the human experience. And the human experience happens where? In our environments. Even Thomas of the Bible, one of the 12, said, "I won't believe it until I see it for myself. I need to see him, and then I need to touch him. I need to take my hands and put them in the holes of his hands. Then I need to take my hand and put it in the wound in his side, and only then will I believe." I'm going to ask you all to take a little walk with me for a moment. We're going to leave this auditorium in our minds, and we'll take a walk to the suburbs just for a moment. I want you to pay attention to what you can hear, see, and touch in this environment. In this environment, most of the households, not all, but most have both a mother and father living in the home. Also in this environment, either one of the parents, if not both, have a good paying job or career. So the child inside the home starts to relate and believe that's something attainable because it's part of their everyday lives and what they can see and touch. Also in the suburb community, most of the parents don't only hope and pray their children are going to college, but it's something that is instilled in the youth at a young age and told they are going to do. When the child in this environment steps out on the front porch and looks to the left at the neighbor's home, he sees a boat and 2 jet skis in the driveway. And they know the neighbors. The neighbors own a successful real estate business. When the child looks to the right at this home, another nice, beautiful home, has an in-ground pool in the yard, and he knows these neighbors. They're both retired professionals, one being a retired doctor, the other a retired college professor. See, when this child looks around in his environment, he sees success pretty much everywhere. And when they can identify with someone who looks like them, comes from the same background, they believe in a similar future, if not better. Now, for a moment, let's leave this environment. Let's walk to the inner city. But I need you to be careful, because it's dangerous. Like crime and murder is a normal occurrence in this neighborhood. Pay attention to what you can see, hear, and touch for only a moment. Now, unlike the suburbs, where less than 20% of the households are fatherless, that number jumps to over 57% in this environment, more than half. So in many cases, you have a single mother raising her children on her own. Now, unlike some of the information that we have been receiving through the media, she's a hard worker. She works well over 40 hours a week cleaning hotel rooms for minimum wage. But when she brings her check home, it's not enough to live on. So she needs to collect government food stamps to help feed her children. Also in her home, she doesn't talk about college because she never went to college. Her parents never went to college. So the kid grows up in this environment and starts to think college is an unattainable pipe dream that I hear in school. When the child steps out on the front porch and looks to the home to the left, there's no boats or jet skis in the driveway. There's not even a driveway. But he knows the lady that rents there. She's a single mother of 4 kids. She doesn't work. She collects government assistance and lives in Section 8 housing. When he looks at the neighbor on the right, he also knows the lady that lives there. This is a lady that has a part-time job, has a newborn baby she recently brought home, and a new boyfriend that moved in a few months ago. This new boyfriend has a big black SUV, fully loaded, tinted windows, big rims, shiny, really beautiful. The kids love this truck in the neighborhood. He parks it out front all the time. Now, if you look at this house long enough, you'll see that people come and go, in and out, in and out, in and out, all day and all night. Why? The new boyfriend is selling drugs out of the house. In the hood, we call this a trap house. That's what provides him the money to buy the big black SUV, have the fresh clothing and sneakers and the flashy jewelry the kids admire. Now, also, the kids in this neighborhood look up to him, and he knows it. Why? Because when he was a kid, he also looked up to the neighborhood drug dealer. Now, see, when this kid looks around his environment, he doesn't see any retired professionals. No retired doctors or professors, no in-ground pools, boats, or jet skis, no driveways or white picket fences. You know what he sees? Poverty, crime, death. Now, here's the thing. Both these children grow up in 2 very different environments. Both at an early age believe they can be anything they want when they grow up. Anything. But for one of these children, their environment will start to steal their belief system from them, while the other child's environment will start to fuel his and her imagination to believe in a great future and potential, just like the people around them. Now, I'm not saying that in the suburbs you don't have children ain't suffering. There's abuse, there's addiction, there's neglect. All that is real. But today I'm speaking on a broader perspective of the effects environment have on our children. So, what is the answer to this? What's the solution to this problem plaguing our inner cities of America? I don't have enough time to discuss all the issues like our failing public school systems, like the archaic ways that we educate our youth, like generational poverty and for-profit prisons. But I can talk about one solution, one very powerful solution, and that is for people like myself that come from the environment, that have found a way to make it out, to become successful without being a famous athlete, a famous rapper, or a drug dealer, to come back in the physical form of someone the child can see and touch and believe in, so that way their belief system can be reestablished. See, just like doubting Thomas, the kids in the inner city, they need to not only see it, but they need to be able to touch it in order to believe in a future of success. Now, I discovered this and had this calling in 2012 when I founded the Vision program. Vision stands for Values, Inspiring Students, and Overcoming Negativity. I knew that over 90% of our inner city youth are engulfed in hip-hop music. And not only hip-hop music, hip-hop culture. And hip-hop culture is the most influential youth culture on planet Earth today. So I designed a series of workshops and programs that uses elements of hip-hop to gain the useful attention, because I know once I have a child's undivided attention, I can get my message across. We developed these programs. One of the programs that we run is called the Influence of Hip-Hop, where we take the kids and we dig into where hip-hop started, where it came from a beautiful place of positivity and creativity. And the kids get to see where this really came from and how powerful it can be if they use the positive aspects of it. Through lectures and workshops and group discussions and workbooks, we challenge the youth to see how it is to have negative role models and how to change from negativity to positivity. One of the other programs we run is called the Art of Entrepreneurship, where we actually look at the drug trade with the kids and the outcomes of participating in it. Now remember, these children are surrounded by the drug trade. I have to talk about it. I'm not going to hide from it. In this program, we also find successful men and women that come from that environment that made it out. So that way we can show them, they can identify with, oh, he's like me, he comes from this and he made it. So we look at all this. We teach the kids about credit building, assets, liabilities, investing. Another program we run is called Hip-Hop's Influence on Young Men and Women. See, in hip-hop culture, women are looked at as accessories to successful men. They are objectified. Young boys within the culture at an early age are taught that it's okay to objectify women and call them disrespectful names like bitches, hoes, and thots. The young girls in the culture will start to emulate and copy the women they see in videos or hip-hop-related content in order to get the young boys' attention. So you have to remember, over half of these children don't have a positive male role model in their household to teach them otherwise. So the culture teaches them for them. We challenge these kids and give them the information to see how these negative images and content is affecting them. And we make them learn to respect themselves and others and bring that back to their circle of influences in their communities. Now, please understand, I'm not against hip-hop. I am hip-hop. I am the culture. Hip-hop has saved millions of lives across our planet and has a lot of great assets to it. But there's some negative messages that are killing our youth that I must not run from. Vision is not just a program that runs workshops. We are also a mentoring program for youth upon release from treatment facilities. And one of the main things that we teach our kids and we push on them is reading. With the help of author and entrepreneur Tom Pace, with the help of Success Magazine, and the help of the author of the book The Secret, Rhonda Byrne, we have given away over 700 copies of personal development books to incarcerated youth. Now, you may be asking yourself this question right now, well, how can I influence change if I'm not from this environment or I don't know anything about hip-hop culture? If you're asking that question, I'm glad, because we need your help. You can volunteer at youth-based programs like the Boys and Girls Club of America, Big Brothers and Sister programs, Crispus Attic Centers, and even nonprofits working right in our area doing amazing things with children like the Mix at Arbor Place or the Your Choice Foundation. If any of this is not a calling to you, you can give financially because all these organizations need money in order to continue providing. You and I have the power to influence change in youth if we take action to build relationships with these kids that most of America has forgotten about. Not me. When most of you guys came in here before the break, hopefully you received a mini paper airplane when you came in. Can I ask everyone that received the mini paper airplane to take it out for a second? This mini plane, guys, is a gift from me to you. But it's a gift with a purpose. I want you to please keep it. It's a reminder. Can you guys hold it up so I can see it? Thank you. I'll keep it there for a moment. This is a reminder for us to remember that when someone loses belief, they lose hope, and hopelessness is a dangerous place to be. This is a reminder that our belief systems become our reality. What we believe manifests in our lives. This is a reminder for all of us not to be so quick to judge like we do the personal in the news, the 6 o'clock news. But most of all, it's a reminder for possibly one of you in this audience, or someone at home watching this on video, or an inner city kid that lost hope, that believes their disability is holding them back. You are more than your disability. You are more than that addiction you're fighting. You are more than that depression that's lying to you day in and day out. You are more. Not just like a paper plane that won't fly too far, you're a fighter jet. You have to believe you're a fighter jet, that you can take on any opponent and you will soar to any height imaginable. You are a fighter jet. And I am you, and I believe in you. And that is the paper plane effect. Thank you.